In this video, we're going to be going through 3 ways that you guys should be positioning to stop unders in Ultimate Frisbee. Now, before we jump into it, let's go to the question. This question came up from Will, who is one of our community members. He's asked any tips for positioning your body to take away the underspace while staying aware of what else is going on. So he mentions that sometimes when he's fronting, when he's preventing the unders, he finds that his back's usually facing towards the disc, so he can't see what's happening. He can't evaluate the wrist spaces on the field. Great responses from the group so far. Will, if you're watching this, first go to the classroom. First go to the defensive systems course. Make sure you first watch the where to look and when to poach video and defensive positioning videos first. Those will give you some good basis when it comes to defensive positioning and also where to look and when it's okay to not be looking at the disc as well. But for the purpose of your question, we're going to go into 3 methods that you can use to take away unders regardless. So I'm going to jump onto ulti plays here. We have this scenario where you are the defender here on the right side of the field. For the example, let's just say the disc is on the right side of the field as well. So I want us to think about 3 ways that we can prevent unders. First way is option number 1, which sounds like what you're already doing. Your back is facing towards the disc. You are directly between where the offensive cutter is and where you want to stop. But it also means that you're the furthest away from the end zone. It means that the offensive cutter can cut towards the end zone, and it means that you can't necessarily see where the disc is immediately as well. So this is option number 1. Obviously good if you're taller, good if you have good straight line speed and you can close up this distance. But as you're mentioning in your question, it can sometimes mean that you don't get a clear view of the disc and you can't see what the wrist spaces on the field are, which is okay in certain scenarios, but let me give you 2 other options to consider. And we're going to go through live examples in a second as well. Option 2 is we can play this a little bit more neutrally. So instead of completely facing our back towards the disc, we can go more of this side-on view. So this is option number 2. If we are side-on with our back towards the sideline in this scenario, that means we have lateral power. So our weight is pushing left and right. And it means that we can respond using our footwork to react to where our cutter is moving as well. Now, how are we still able to try and prevent the under in this scenario? Well, when we're reacting to how the cutter is moving, we want to overplay the underspace, meaning that we want to commit harder when they're taking a jab or moving towards the underspace. If you haven't heard the term overplay or underplay before, again, if you go into our defensive systems course, we go through those terminology in our very first lesson, the risk space rating. So option 1, completely under, back towards the disc. Option 2, back towards the sideline and we're overplaying the under. Option 3, back towards the end zone and we're overplaying the under. So same thing here. It might not feel like we're necessarily preventing the under in this scenario, but if our momentum is ready to commit to this early, it often means that if the throw is slow or if it's not a direct throw, if the offensive cutter slows down, then we have a chance at a block or we're able to prevent that option altogether as well. So let me take you through examples of all those 3 options in terms of preventing an under. Option 1 is as follows. You can have a look. I'm in this example here. And I'm here really trying to prevent the undercut from my offensive cutter here. Let's hit play and let's see what happens. So for option 1, we really want to make sure our weight is in front. Our weight is forwards, our weight is low, and we're ready to push off and commit to the deep space in case it does go up. That's the weakness with this particular option. The deep space is pretty open, so we need to make sure that our weight is forward to be able to contest that option. In this case, as my player is getting ready to cut, you can see that I've taken a step back. I'm trying to keep my weight forward. My body is between where he is and where the underspace is. So I'm preventing the under in this scenario, but he elects to go deep. Here, I have to make sure that my weight is forward. I'm leaning forward. I'm pushing off my left foot so that I can commit to that deep space when he's committed. And I can try to get into a spot to contest this option when it does go up. Now, if you don't have a great matchup, if a really good thrower's got the disc, or if the throw is simply perfect, there's not much you can do in this scenario. Oftentimes the end zone is quite open and they will be able to get the advantage there. So that brings us to option 2. In this example here, I'm going to role play. I want you to pay attention to what's happening downfield. So we have this scenario where this person gets the disc and the continuation cutter here is being marked by this defender. I want you to pay attention to how he's setting up and how he's using his footwork to prevent this undercut. So right now he's got his back towards the sideline and he's using his footwork to stay close enough towards the undercut to deter that open side under. So oftentimes we don't necessarily need to be completely underneath of the player to deter the underside option, especially if we are overplaying the under space. You can see here, if we can open up our hips and be ready to contest this option and be at that spot as the offensive player is trying to attack that spot, oftentimes that's enough to deter the throw, and we're still preventing the under space, we're still contesting that under space, and it means that they have to go to another option. Now this approach is a little bit more technical. It requires more footwork, being able to move backwards and being able to flip your hips. So make sure you're prepared to react to that movement if you're going with this approach. Our last option is to pressure the under while starting behind our player. Now initially this might seem counterintuitive, but the idea is if our weight is already in front, even though we're starting behind our player, it means that we're ready to accelerate forward and pressure the under to deter the throw. So you can see what happens here is we've got two cutters isolated on the right side of the field. The first cutter initially makes a deep cut, even though the defender is clearly on the back side of them. And you can see Ben Yot here is also being marked by a player who is behind him. Now you can see this particular stance, he's very athletic, his weight is forward. The defender here is ready to accelerate to contest the under space, which seems like he's giving the under, but in reality, his weight is forward, ready to contest that as hard as he can when Ben attacks that under space. For this particular scenario, if you do decide to commit early to the under, you do need to be prepared in case they change direction. For this particular case, the defender here has deep help, so it's able to get an advantageous switch in this scenario. Now we're going to go through one last example, and I think this is the most impactful way that you can front or you can prevent an under. Here what the Japanese player does is he starts with a fronting buffer. He starts preventing the under. So he starts with option 1. But what you'll notice as the disc gets checked in is he switches his stance. Very quickly he's going to go from option 1 to option 3. So he starts under, but as the disc gets checked in, he quickly flips his orbit to begin on the back shoulder. Now what this does is it puts a spanner in the works when it comes to the offensive cutter's decision making. It makes them think that now the under is open and that they can attack it, but really with option 3, remember the defender is ready to commit and ready to accelerate to try and contest this pass. And in this particular scenario, where there's wind going on in this game, where the offensive cutter has to slow down to make sure that they secure the disc, it's just enough for this defensive player to accelerate all the way, commit early, and to come through and get a layout block. So hopefully that answers your question, Will. Again, we've got 3 different approaches. Option 1 is what you're going with at the moment, and it can be really effective if you're ready to contest that deep option, especially if you've got a good matchup. But if you're looking for more ways to see what's going on in the handler space as well, option 2 and option 3 are fine as well. Again, I'd recommend just doing some refresher training. Jump back into the classroom, do a bit of refresher training inside the defensive systems course. This lesson on where to look and when to poach will be helpful in helping you figure out exactly when it's okay to just index on your player and focus on your player, and when you should have a chance to look on the rest of the field as well. Sometimes when your player is in a threatening position, all you need to do is lock onto them, assume that they're in the threatening spot, assume that the disc is on your side, and sometimes that's the best way to play defense, just staying close on your player. But now you've got 3 options to play with, depending on your particular matchup, depending on your particular scenario, so hopefully that helps. That's all for the video. If you have any questions, you can drop them inside the group, or you can leave them down in the comment section below. I'll make sure I get to it. I will see you on the next one. Peace.